Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Modern Open in Dallas, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside Todd Stevens. Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing, Nick?
Pretty good. We're here in the state of Texas, your home state. You've been flying around the country playing Opens. Finally, you get one in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to drive to one for once.
Here at home, playing a deck you've been playing on stream, a kind of green-white Value Town deck. Now, I got to ask you first, you're on a tear with the Eldrazi-Tron deck that you played in Baltimore.
Right.
And we talked about it in Indianapolis, but now you've kind of made the switch to this deck that you've been popularizing, and I kind of want to know why the move to this deck now?
It was a tough choice, especially with how well I was doing with Eldrazi-Tron to switch off decks, but with how Death Shadow's become a lot more popular, I believe this deck is better to play against Death Shadow, and also the mid-range decks that are built to beat Death Shadow as well.
Right, so this is focused on beating Death Shadow, and the meta right now that's kind of shifting to beat that deck. You know, fans of yours who watch you on Twitch have seen this deck. You've been playing a lot of it, and it's a green-white creature deck that's based around Collected Company, along with some land destruction properties as well.
Yeah, it's actually, and so I think it's really based around the mana base, which is, a lot of decks in Modern don't really care that much about the mana base, but what I'm trying to do is maximize my mana base and minimize my opponent's mana base, attacking them with specifically Ghost Quarter in mind.
Right, now we've seen all these company decks, green-white X. You know, you can go Abzan or you can go Bant. You've played Naya to some top finishes.
Yep.
So, you know, the mana is free if you want to play more colors in your company deck, but you're playing green-white, and the main thing is you want to be utilizing Ghost Quarter along with Crucible of Worlds and all your kind of land-centered creature cards. So we have, you know, Course of Kruphix, we have Azusa Lost Seeking, and then you have some other synergies going on as well. Yep,
and a big one there that you didn't mention was Knight of the Reliquary. So Knight of the Reliquary can help me find my Ghost Quarters to get everything started, really. So this deck, I'm kind of concerned about playing this in paper because this does take a while to play, because you know, all we're doing is kind of dirtling around, but we're having fun and just trying to find our lands, get rid of their lands, and eventually have this big Knight of the Reliquary that can finish the game.
Right. No surprise to see you kind of locking your opponents out mana-wise. You did kind of bring the white-red prison deck to the forefront. Now you're doing it again in a different way. So we're going to go over the rest of the creatures here. You got your mana creatures between Noble Hierarch and a Birds of Paradise. Then you go into your 2-drops where you got Voice of Resurgence kind of fitting that value theme. And then Scavenging Ooze and Tarmogoyf as your other 2-drops.
Yeah, and you just have to have 2-drops. I'm not a big fan of Scavenging Ooze, honestly. I think it's maybe one of the weaker cards in the deck, but there's just not a better 2-drop really to play. I've tried like Selfless Spirit and some other things, but it's just the best that we have. Right,
and I think when you're looking to grind, Scavenging Ooze kind of has shown in the Jund mirrors and the Abzan mirrors that the person who kind of sticks the last Scavenging Ooze takes over the game.
It's perfect on turn 10. It's amazing on turn 10. Turn 2, it's not what you want though.
Right. Then you have 3-drops here, kind of all the land-focused creatures. You got Tireless Tracker, again, Courser, Azusa, and the Knight of the Reliquary doing it all. Along with the new card here, we got to highlight Renegade Rallier. This card's popping up all over the place. Even the Abzan Company builds are pulling this card.
Yep. It works really well with the Horizon Canopies and with the Ghost Quarters. And again, we need the 2-drops, and so like Rallier can help get back a Tarmogoyf for a Voice of Resurgence. If you can get one of those, it's just so much value. I love it.
Now normally these like 3-color decks have issues with stuff like Tron and kind of the ramp strategies. I imagine doing something like Ghost Quarter, Rallier, Ghost Quarter again in the same turn is probably pretty good against those decks.
Oh, yep, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. That's how I fight the unfair decks, is by punishing their mana base as much as possible.
And you can also kind of get these other decks that are playing a low land count. So you mentioned Death Shadow and these kind of Grixis Delver decks. You get to punish them simultaneously.
Right, and that's I just had my first round under camera, and that's what I did. My opponent had just one basic swamp and a Steam Vents. I Ghost Quartered their basic swamp. They didn't have another black source to get. They couldn't play the rest of their hand, and easily won from there.
Right, and of course we have Collected Company kind of tying it all together. Then you have some removal spells and catch-alls between Path to Exile and Dromoka's Command, a card that you utilize back in the Naya Company builds as well.
Yeah, I think Dromoka's Command is just a very underrated card. It's good against just various matchups. There's a lot of other creature decks where I don't have that much removal and where you have to kill something. Maybe something like Affinity or Elves, decks like that. There's also a decent amount of enchantments just kind of hanging around. Maybe Merfolk with their Spreading Seas can be a problem, or Phyrexian Unlife from Ad Nauseam. And so it's just kind of a good catch-all card.
Okay. We mentioned Crucible, but this is kind of like your end game when you really want to just run them out of lands.
Yep, and even just playing a Crucible on turn 3, sometimes you can just start getting your fetch lands back and start just building your mana base. If you don't have like a better 3-drop to play, Crucible is almost always good. I've never found it to be a problem.
Was there any thoughts of trying to fit just the tiniest splash of red so you could do the Kessig Wolf Run kind of stuff with the Knight or any of that?
Yeah, honestly, Kessig Wolf Run's definitely better than Gavany Township. That's my one utility land that I have. And I've definitely thought of that, but I wanted just to keep it clean. I've tried splashing red, not only for that, but also for Blood Moon to help to punish the land decks as well. Or I've tried splashing blue just to have retreat to Coral Helm in the sideboard, even just to bring in, just to have a fast clock with it. But I've always just done worse and not been happy with having the third color.
All right, 2 colors it is. So we'll move on to the sideboard where you have white in your deck, so you're going to have good sideboard cards. That's kind of the name of the game here in Modern. 3 Stony Silence, 3 Blessed Alliance. These cards have earned their spots.
Yeah, and Stony Silence is just so important right now. I came very close to playing a 4th. I need it against Tron. You need it against Eldrazi Tron also. It's perfect there against Walking Ballista, Basilisk Collar. You need it there. And of course, Affinity. Affinity has all their creatures with evasion, so it's tough for me to deal with those creatures with evasion, so I need it there too.
Now we saw Blessed Alliance kind of on the uptick when Infect and the Death Shadow aggro decks were kind of running rampant. Both of those decks not really in the format anymore. Infect still exists, but it's kind of tapered off. All right, what are you bringing this in now against?
So Blessed Alliance is still perfect against the versions of Death Shadow right now. So what I found out against Death Shadow, it's kind of not intuitive, but you actually don't want to be attacking them at all until you're way ahead. So even if they're at like 17 and I have a Tarmogoyf and I know they're on Death Shadow, I'm not going to be attacking because it just helps turns on their Death Shadow having a lower life total. So I actually honestly use the Blessed Alliances frequently as just gain 4 life, just even against them, like not with the other mode. If they're going to Thoughtseize me or anything like that, just to get out of my hand, make their life total higher. Because the higher their life total is, the slower their clock is, which is good for me. I want the clock to be very slow because I will be able to outgrind them.
Have you gotten the super blowout that Tom Ross talked about, Devour Flesh being able to get 2 Death Shadows? Yep. Can you do that here?
Yes, I have on stream. I've gotten 3 Death Shadows before with 1 Blessed Alliance.
That seems pretty good.
I had to wait for them to crack their fetch because they could fetch up. So once they cracked their fetch, they went to their Death Shadows are 3/3s, 1 Blessed Alliance, just wipe them out. That was great.
Surgical here, great against all the graveyard strategies. Then you have Engineer the Explosive as another just sideboard card du jour right now.
Yeah, that's actually a card I've actually forgot about. I've actually never played with that card on stream or anything, but just kind of remembered it like last night basically to help with elves and merfolk, which are really big problems. Also Affinity, I know it's a combo with the Stony Silence. I love that combo, but just to help out with decks like that. It can also help against Ad Nauseam to blow up like their Lotus Blooms or Mana Rock, stuff like that. Right. So
Green-White Hexproof, another
Green-White Hexproof
as well.
Yep, so just a kind of good catch-all card against. It's also actually pretty good against the Death Shadow decks, especially the Delver Death Shadow decks, which are getting popular because you can hit Delver and Death Shadow with it, which is perfect.
Round it out real quick with your one-ofs. You got a Kasali Pride Mage, Whisperwood Elemental, Aven Mind Sensor, and an extra Crucible here when you really want to hammer home the land destruction.
Yep, extra Crucible is just crucial for that land destruction. Whisperwood's just a ton of fun, and we saw that other game. It can just take over against the mid-range decks.
Okay. So if you had your choice, what would you want to just kind of battle against all day today?
I want to play against only Death Shadow decks and 3-color mid-range decks, like Jund, Abzan, that kind of stuff.
Well, you're off to a great start after your buys, so you're 3-0.
Yep.
We're here in the land of Texas where everyone's kind of beaten down and doing aggressive strategies, and I think you're in a very good position.
Yeah, everybody talks about how Dallas is an aggressive place, and this is also a very good deck against aggressive decks. Corsair Crufix gains that extra life, which is crucial. Got lots of big things on the ground, and the Blessed Alliances, they're perfect. All
right, well, thanks for joining me here on the sideboard. We wish you the best of luck. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Dallas.